So I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you this evening and share some financial foundations along with some biblical scripture references, which hopefully will just help to support the opportunity that we have tonight. So as we review the agenda for this evening, I want to touch on and spend some time in relation to giving and tithing, along with good stewardship and being fiscally responsible, saving and building an emergency fund, creating a budget, and then before we leave tonight, you will have a little bit of homework as we plan for the coming week. So as we look at stewardship and as we look at tithing, of course, that's based on generosity. And generosity is defined as a virtue or a quality of being kind and unselfish and being giving. If we look at the book of Luke, Luke 6:38 states that if given, it will be given to you, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure that you use, it will be measured to you. And if we refer to and look at 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 6 through 11, the Bible states that whoever sows generously will also reap generously. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. As it is written, they have freely scattered their gifts to the poor, their righteousness endures forever. Now he who supplies the seed to the sower and bread for food will also supply and increase your store of seed and enlarge the harvest of your righteousness. You will be enriched in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion. And through us, your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. And so this is the basis of giving. This is the basis of being generous and sharing the blessings that God has provided to us. And as we look at tithing, a tithe is known, it's a portion of your income that is given to the church. And in fact, in Hebrew, the word tithe means tenth. Proverbs 3:9 states that we are to honor the Lord with our wealth and with the first fruits of our crops. Tithing is an important part of our faith. It's a foundation of our faith. It's a specific amount that we are called to give first. And then anything in abundance of that is an offering. So after you've tithed and after you've paid your bills or your expenses for the month, you can use the extra money in your budget to give even more. Tithing is a way that we show God that we trust Him with our lives, we trust Him with our finances, and we trust Him with all that we are. And it's not for God's benefit because God doesn't need our money, but tithing is meant for our benefit. It's because sacrificing a portion of our income reminds us to rely fully on God and knowing that God will meet every bit of our needs. And so as we are, as Christians, we are called to be good stewards. And, that's using the blessings that God has provided to us. And that's not just necessarily with our finances. That's with our jobs, that's with our children, that's with our marriage, in every fashion and state that God has called us to serve, and the talents that He's provided. We're called to be good stewards in that, and we're called to be frugal in the resources that He's provided. And that's not just to give honor to God, but that's also to be of service to our fellow man. And so this is most importantly how we use our money, how we manage our credit, how we manage our time and our resources, and how we manage those blessings impacts the opportunities that we're provided. So when we're given the opportunity to purchase a car or to buy our first home or to become gainfully employed, we are to be good stewards and be respectful of the opportunities God's given. And so with that, we need to be aware that our creditors, our employers, when we're seeking insurance, the way that we manage our finances, we manage our lives, we manage our credit, all of that is impacted. And so I want to spend a little time here tonight with just having that focus of being responsible with those blessings and with what we've been given, and with in managing our credit and creating a budget and living within our means. And so as we look at our credit, a credit score can range anywhere from 300 to all the way up to 850. 850 is excellent. The higher the number, the better the score. It's kind of just like your GPA. The better that score can be, the more responsible that of a reflection that makes with how we've been with our credit and our lifestyle, and just that we've completed everything that we've been tasked to do. We've paid our bills on time. We've managed those resources responsibly. If you fall in between, for example, a 720 credit score, 720 or above is considered good. Typically 600 and below we need to provide a little attention, need to give it a little bit more work. But your score, again, it's reflected of how we've managed our credit, how we have, we've paid our bills timely, we've paid our bills in full, we do not have any remaining taxes that we owe, any bills or any invoices or any accounts that have been that have just been left without the attention that's necessary. So all of those factors enhance and have an impact on our credit. And that also is a reflection on the amount of risk that's associated when creditors take into consideration giving you a loan or extending credit to you. So the more responsible that you are and the better the steward that you are, then that reduces the amount of risk that a creditor would consider in relation to your application for credit, or just in relation to your circumstances. So monitoring your credit is free. It's easy. The government actually allows for you to receive a free copy of your credit report from all three bureaus one time per year. And you can access that information by referring to the website annualcreditreport.com. It's free. I think you do have to maybe pay an additional fee if you want to obtain your score. However, there are resources available throughout the industry. For example, Credit Karma, that allows you to also track your score and monitor your score and monitor your credit as you place greater focus on those areas. Again, monitoring your credit, it's the primary form of being a good steward. And that is seen, and that's reflective of how we've managed and the oversight that we provide and that you provide to your credit and to your finances and to your monthly obligations. And so tonight we're going to spend some time on creating a budget and being committed to that budget and being committed to having that focus upon our finances and upon the amount of income that we have coming in, the expenses that we have going out, and then how we need to allocate those funds. Saving. In addition to tithing, the next area of focus is saving. So did you know that there are over 2,500 verses in the Bible that provide instruction and guidance in regards to managing your money and managing your possessions? Solomon in the book of Proverbs 21:20 states that in the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all that he has. 41% of Americans have money in savings to cover emergency expenses. Only 41% nationwide have funds set aside for emergencies. And 59% of Americans today live paycheck to paycheck. So that's why it's so important that you focus on setting those funds aside, making sure that you save for those instances in life that you may not have planned for, and working to where you can grow and you can extend yourself from that living to paycheck lifestyle. So building a savings begins with creating an emergency fund, being disciplined to set aside a portion of your income for saving before you spend, planning for those big expenses, planning for those trips, planning for those holidays and those seasonal purchases that you may have. Being very diligent not to touch your retirement and keeping your savings separate from your checking. No matter what you want to do with your money, though, it starts with a budget. So our focus tonight, you will see there's a theme that's already being established. It's management and it's budgeting and it's forming a plan. And, you know, in my own personal life, I have both personally and professionally, I have a plan A, but I always have a plan B because life has taught me that things may not always go as the way that we have planned. And so in relation to our finances, it's important that we have a budget. And a budget is just that. It's a plan. It's not a restriction on our spending. It's a plan for what we will do with our money. And it's a plan for what we have coming in versus what we have going out. And when we've learned how to budget and we've learned how to be disciplined and how to do so regularly, then it's giving our money and it's allowing our money to have a purpose. There's 5 steps to creating a budget. That's identifying your income. That's identifying your expenses. That's being able to subtract your expenses from your income, tracking your transactions, and then making a new budget every month. So, because what we may plan for this month may be completely different than what happens or what we experience in our lives within the coming months. The first step to creating a budget is identifying your income and the source of your income. So income is defined as any money that you plan to receive on a regular basis. And that can be either from your W-2 wages, from your employment, or it can be through investments. It can be through Social Security, the receipt of Social Security, pension income, any type of monetary reward that you receive is considered as income that you can rely upon that will be continual. For example, that's your normal paychecks. That's any extra money that you might receive as you may have a side job. You may have a separate side business that you've seen can be lucrative and that you can begin to rely upon. So any source of income and money that you have coming in per month is defined and can be considered as income. And so once you've defined your income and once you've allocated for the amount that you can rely upon across the span of a month's time, then we need to look at your expenses and what you have that is now going out. So we want to be sure that you always, set aside those funds for giving and for tithing first, because what God has given us, we need to honor Him with first and foremost, and then budgeting for our savings goals, our emergency fund, and then making sure that we have covered life's necessities. That's our food, that's our utilities, that's our shelter, that's our transportation. That's the amount that it will take to feed our families, to keep a roof over our head, to keep the lights on, and to ensure that we have transportation, a means to be able to travel back and forth to work, and to be able to maintain steady employment and those areas which, again, support our income. Then we're going to take our expenses and we're going to subtract that from our income. So we're going to sit down and we're going to do the math. And every month, as you review your budget and as you review your income, you review your expense items, then your budget should always equal 0, meaning that you you just made a zero-based budget. And so that means, what that means is you've assigned and you've given every dollar that you have coming in and going out a job. You have every dollar allocated for. You know how much is going to be reserved to be given. You know how much is going to be reserved for saving. You know how much that you have reserved for your emergency fund. But then you also know that you've covered all 4 of your walls. You know, you have all of your necessities taken care of. And you have those dollars allocated in that fashion. That doesn't mean that, that also means that anything extra that you might have, you can assign that and you can apply that to other areas in your life that you may have an abundance for. So, not just that we as stewards and as Christians have a purpose, but those blessings have a purpose as well. And then we want to track those transactions and track every dollar that we've given that purpose to. We have a tracking log. So it assures us that we have the capability to account for those items that we've designated. And so when we purchase gas, then we're going to deduct that line item from our transportation expense. When we again, for the example, when we are paying our electric bill, we're going to deduct that expense from our utilities category. And when we have not budgeted enough for those months that have been cold and we've had to use more electricity than what we had planned for, then we know we've got to assign, okay, this expense was a little higher than what I had allocated for. I'm going to assign those dollars back into this utility category. And so that means I've got to shave that from an alternate category that I may have assigned those dollars to. So it's important that we create the budget. It's important that we maintain the budget. It's important that we hold ourselves accountable. And when our expenses exceed what we've planned for, we have the capability to make those adjustments. This helps to keep us from overspending. It helps to keep us between the lines, and it helps to keep our budget on target. And it teaches us how to learn and how to make those adjustments, how to plan. It makes us better stewards, in other words. And as we make our new budgets each month, we know no 2 months are alike. And so we can more easily plan for those expenses such as birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, those seasonal purchases. We may want to do new landscaping. Springtime's coming. We may want to make some home improvements. And so we've allocated for those expenses that we know may be surrounding some of those seasonal items, and or it may be our Christmas budget. It may be knocking off those items that's on the Christmas list and being able to do so. It's maintaining the oversight that we've been tasked with, and being responsible with that oversight, and being cognitive that life happens, and we need to learn to make those adjustments where we can. You'll find this very interesting, that in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 10, it states, "Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord, if I will not open for you the windows of heaven, and pour out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it." This is the only scripture that provides us with a direct task of testing the Lord. And I can assure you that when you test the Lord in relation to budgeting and in relation to using those blessings that God has given you, He will reward you tenfold I've seen that personally in my life. I've seen it very visible when I have tasked my children to even test God and take what God's given them and use it for the good of others. Be that good steward. I can assure you that God always brings those blessings back to us in ways that are much more enormous than what we could have ever imagined. And so as we plan for the coming week, I have some homework for you. We've taken the information that we've provided here this evening. Sit down and follow the 5 steps. Identify your income. Create an itemization of your monthly expenses. Take a look at your calendar and keep in mind those items that you know may pop up in certain months throughout the year. And so as you're creating your budget and as you are allocating for those expenses and for those special moments, then we're gonna begin to apply over the coming week an application that will hopefully be of benefit to you, that you can take throughout the year, and that you can begin to incorporate these steps and these incentives as you work to build that budget and as you work to answer the calling that God has provided, and being the steward that we each make every effort and feel that we're called to be. And so I want to give you just a reference to it's a Dave Ramsey app. It's called Every Dollar. And so we're reminded, no matter what you want to do with your money, it starts with a budget. And it begins with these 5 simple steps. And so I encourage you to download this app and begin to make these preparations. And next week, when we come together, we will go through a series of budgets and how to create the budget, how to make those adjustments with our line items, and how we can actually put this into practice and make this a part of our everyday lives. I hope that you will have found that this information will be beneficial, not only for this evening's segment, but hopefully this can be incorporated into your everyday life, and that this can become a part of your monthly ritual and the behaviors that you want to put into place